What do you picture when you think of a train? Steel wheels grinding against steel rails, clattering and shaking with every turn. Right, that sound alone screams railway. Now imagine pushing that machine to run 3 times faster than a typical American highway speed. 300 kilometers per hour isn't enough. 400 still feels slow. Once Japan pushed it past 500 kilometers per hour, friction started to fight back. The noise screamed like a jet taking off. Vibrations turned a simple cup of coffee into something that danced like it was at a nightclub. Here comes the irony to build the fastest train on Earth. Engineers decided to remove the very thing that defines a train. Steel wheels and rails gone. It sounds like a design prank, but it's real, and the secret sits right underneath the vehicle. When you hear the name SC Maglev, you might imagine a floating technological beast slicing through the air at 603 kilometers per hour, swallowing nearly 170 meters every second, roughly the length of a small soccer field. No wheels, no ground contact, zero mechanical friction. It feels like science fiction. Hold that thought. Don't idolize it just yet, because at the very beginning, there's nothing super about it. Leaving the station, the SC Maglev rolls forward on rubber tires. Yes, rubber, the same material you'd find under a motorcycle. At low speeds, the magnetic system isn't strong enough to lift hundreds of tons of metal off the track. So, for the first few minutes of its life, this futuristic machine behaves like a very expensive bus. Imagine buying a supercar, starting the engine, and hearing it say, "Give me a second, I need training wheels first." A little awkward. Maybe, but that awkward stage is essential. And this is where things start to get interesting. Once the train reaches about 150 kilometers per hour, already faster than many European high-speed services, the magnetic field begins to wake up. Superconducting magnets beneath the train generate forces that interact with coils embedded along the concrete guideway. The result: the entire train rises roughly 10 centimeters off the surface. 10 centimeters doesn't sound like much. Try sliding your thumb under your heel and standing up. You'll realize that leaving the ground is a bigger deal than it sounds. At that moment, the rubber wheels slowly retract inward, just like airplane landing gear pulling up after takeoff. And suddenly, mechanical friction disappears. The train doesn't roll anymore. It glides, not through open air. Exactly. It moves inside a U-shaped concrete channel, held steady between invisible magnetic walls. But the sensation is closer to flying than traveling on rails. See the paradox. To achieve record-breaking ground speed, engineers transformed a train into something that behaves more like an aircraft. That decision triggered a chain reaction of consequences few people notice. 500 kilometers per hour isn't just a bragging number, it's a physics nightmare. At that speed, air becomes an invisible wall. Drag increases with the square of velocity. Double the speed. And the resistance doesn't double, it quadruples. Think about riding a motorbike at 50 kilometers per hour versus 100 kilometers per hour at Osuta. The wind slaps your face non-stop. Now imagine multiplying that sensation several times over. That's why the SC Maglev looks like an arrow. Its nose is long and sharply pointed, with some versions stretching over 15 meters, just to soften the shock waves when entering tunnels. A critical detail in a country like Japan, where tunnels are everywhere. Here's the fascinating loop to reduce friction. They removed wheels. To reduce air resistance, they stretched the nose like a swordfish. To maintain stability, they locked the vehicle between concrete walls. The faster it goes, the less it resembles a traditional train. Stand outside as it passes, and the familiar clacking rhythm disappears. Instead, you hear a jet-like rush of wind, a ground machine behaving like something born for the sky. And then you notice the funniest part. We call it a high-speed train, but look closer at the definition. Traditional trains rely on steel wheels rolling along rails. The SC Maglev doesn't roll. It doesn't even use rails in the classic sense. It's a magnetic levitation system precise enough to maintain a steady 10 centimeter gap across hundreds of kilometers. In other words, it's basically a wingless aircraft trapped inside a concrete guideway. Isn't that ironic? To surpass the limits of rail travel, engineers didn't polish the wheel design a little more. They erased it from the equation entirely. Progress doesn't always come from improving the old. Sometimes it begins with a dangerous question. What happens if we remove it? And that's the real twist. The SC Maglev isn't tricking us. Our own definition of what a train should be, that's the illusion. Next time someone mentions a train, you might smile and ask, "Do you mean the one with wheels? Or the one that flies just above the ground?" Who knows? That question might lead to an even wilder topic, like how engineers use superconductors chilled close to cosmic temperatures to lift hundreds of tons of steel off the Earth. But maybe we'll save that story for another video.